Welcome to this edition of Las Películas Sábados Gigantes.
Oh, baby, yeah.
At the Cinema Marijuana Theater.
Yeah.
We're back with another edition of our podcast where we talk about the movie that we watched that we didn't know we were going to watch. We're in the middle of a theme right now. Actually, the beginning really just started last week. The theme is You Blew It, Oscar. So all of our picks have to be picks that were nominated for Best Picture Oscar but did not win. And tonight we have a small group because everybody is dumb or dead.
I'd like to consider it more intimate.
Okay, absolutely.
More intimate,
Definitely.
I like that.
Definitely. So, yeah, everybody in our group, either died or...
Yeah, I understand
not
that
here.
Christian's plague spread.
Yes.
Even Dr. Matt tested it on himself,
Yes.
thinking he found a cure, and unfortunately, like Henry Fonda in The Swarm, he was found slumped over with a needle in his arm.
Right.
Whether it was heroin or if it was a cure or antidote, I'm not going to debate that out of respect for his family.
Well, the lab
It was
results aren't
heroin.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is where it doesn't bode well for us that we've never really won a game of epidemic. So
Pandemic.
well,
Yes.
we're fucked.
We can't win that game.
Yeah.
So let's introduce ourselves clockwise, starting with me. I'm Ed,
I'm Zeb.
I'm Kenzie.
I'm Condi.
and we did a double feature today. So this is going to be a double dose on tonight's podcast. We had plenty of time because we didn't have 45 minutes worth of trailers.
We didn't have Jason Lane arguing with everybody.
Yes.
We had 0 trailers.
Yeah,
I think
did.
we shot our load in last week's episode.
Well, and I think so too. The only other trailer I was going to show last week is Patrick Stewart is in some new Stars series where he plays some character that's like totally opposite to Captain Picard, and I was going to show the trailer for that series last week, but I opted not to, and opted not to again this week. It wasn't a trailer for a TV show, so fucking this is a movie group, goddammit. Even if it does have Patrick Stewart, who I assume we all love dearly.
Patrick who?
Okay, so just get out. So tonight double feature because we had time and because the first selection, actually Kenzie earlier in the day had made the assertion to me that every pick in this theme was going to be long to at least 3 hours because of the theme, because they were all Oscar nominated. To which I responded, the second thing that I have, my second choice, if I wasn't to play my first choice, is under 2 hours. And our first choice tonight was won by none other than Zeb himself, and he picked 1952's High Noon,
yes,
which is also under 90 minutes.
yeah.
Actually, got to be one of the shortest. Because I also mentioned too, like if I had wanted to pick Dr. Strangelove, or anybody wanted to pick Dr. Strangelove, that's under an hour and a half too, I think, or just right around there. So
It's right around there, yeah.
so these are going to be some of the shortest nominated Oscar films, or Best Picture noms, because they do tend to run
Especially
long.
some in the 50s. You either have the short ones or the long sweeping epics.
Right. So the first choice was High Noon, and then afterwards we decided to go do double duty. Condi won and selected something that was sort of on my radar as well, 1979's All That Jazz, starring Roy Scheider. So we saw both those films tonight, advancing the theme, not 1, but 2 rounds this week, which is super fantastic.
Kind of following the same pattern as the previous theme.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, yes, to note that as well. So far, the theme is going in the exact same order it did last time. Kenzie won first both times, Zeb won second both times, and Condi won third. Well, Summer won, but Summer wasn't here, so Condi won.
She still
Very
hasn't
next,
picked up
yeah.
her funfetti yet.
Condi, yeah. And also, too, interestingly enough, Zeb also...
This isn't unintentional.
This
Wait.
is just one of those little synchronicity things or whatever. Zeb, for the second time in a row, picked a movie that had Thomas Mitchell.
My favorite actor.
Because,
Why not?
well, hey, I mean, he's a best best Oscar or best supporting Oscar winner. I'm
For
pretty sure for Stagecoach.
For
Yes,
Stagecoach.
which was a contender for our last theme, and could be a contender for somebody in this theme too. I don't know that somebody's not going to pull out Stagecoach because that was nominated for Best Picture in 1939 and also did not win. So we'll do High Noon first. We'll go around. We'll talk about High Noon, and then we'll go talk about all that jazz. And then hopefully we've got some extra time, and then we can kind of discuss some things from either one that are kind of interesting. So Zeb, talk to us. Tell us. We're taking fat rips here of Banana OG.
So that's what we're smoking today?
Yes, Banana OG and Grapefruit Romulan. Yes, wonderful.
And by we, I mean you and Kenzie.
Yeah, yes.
Or pretty much just you.
We're the
Or
so
you.
yeah. She's
you.
because she's been partaking all night and has become a total candy ass.
Mm-hmm.
Here she's talking about dating Be Real from Cypress Hill, and she can't even fucking smoke a fucking.
I know, she
like,
can't even
2
keep it
bowls.
100.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so while I take hits from the bong, thank you, Be Real. Zeb, tell us why you picked High Noon.
Well, when you announced the theme, at first I went, because pretty much within this group, I think a lot of us have seen the same movies between everybody in this group.
Except for me.
Except for maybe Kenzie. So when you announced it that night, I kind of went through the Best Picture winners, and how I understood the theme was, a picture you felt should have won over what actually did win.
Yes.
And the most notorious era for Oscars, actually a lot of eras, but probably the one that is most unfair would probably be like the 40s and the 50s and the 30s, when you had the big studio system in place that would knock out a classic like Citizen Kane in favor of some, more accessible film at the time, like How Green Was My Valley. With this one,
I'd like to find out.
Yeah, with this one, if you compare this film with what won that year,
Which was the greatest show on earth. We
is
might as well
bullshit.
mention right now. We
Which
might as
is
well mention
bullshit.
High Noon was nominated in 1952 for Best Picture alongside The Quiet Man, another John Ford film, Moulin Rouge, a John Huston film, Ivanhoe, and The Greatest Show on Earth by Cecil B. DeMille. And The Greatest Show on Earth won.
watch that movie. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like your 1950 stereotypical, like, sweeping epic that took place in a circus, and it's very melodramatic, and it has not stood up the test of time, whereas High Noon has stood up against the test of time. Not only that, but it was an allegory of what was happening during that time.
Yeah.
With the House Un-American Committee,
Which is great because you got that double context, so you can watch it on that surface level, but then it's operating on other levels as well. And if you're equipped with that historical context, it opens up a whole new layer of subtext to the film.
and I enjoy it because I consider it a very anti-Western. There's really very little fighting, very gunfighting until the very end, and even then it's very quick.
It's real sort of methodical and talky. In fact, they said it was billed as like the Western for people who don't like Westerns or something.
And it kind of breaks down the idea of the Western hero, the Western cowboy, with Gary Cooper just looking worried throughout the whole damn thing.
It's almost like a Watchmen of the Western, where it's like a deconstructionist. Where it picks apart this sort of the cliche or the of the Western hero.
When we first see him, he's like, "Oh, hey, Marshal! Oh, the Marshal's in town! Oh, hey, the villain's gonna come in town, Marshal! Better skedaddle!" And by the end of the movie, he's crying in his office.
Yeah,
that's what I love about this film. It just breaks him down to a man. And especially that last shot of him before the gunfight, just him alone in the town.
Right, yeah, the street's empty.
And, we've all find ourselves in that situation, especially if you work in media and production or student productions, where you're like, hey, can you help me with this? Well...
Nope. It's the... what is it? Is it chicken? No, Chicken
Little Red Hen.
That's it. Where the mom wants to make the bread and asks for the help, and everyone's like, "Fuck you!" And then as soon as she bakes the bread, they're like, "Yo, we want some," and she's like, "Fuck you!"
And that's kind of like what happened at the end. He shot the villain, and boom, everybody comes out of the buildings, and he just tosses that 10-star to the ground.
Dude, I really wanted him to give like the double fuck you to everybody, just flip them all off. And
hang on, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, so That's why I picked it. Stanley Kramer has been really screwed by the Academy because some of my other choices were other Stanley Kramer films that lost to bullshit shit.
Right.
Like My Fair Lady and Gigi. Who the fuck watches that? Who the fuck says, it's a Sunday, I'm going to watch fucking Gigi? No, fuck you. It's a Sunday, I'm watching High Noon.
Yeah, right.
I'm watching The Defiant Ones. I'm watching Judgment at Nuremberg. Nobody fucking watches My Fair Lady. They picked My Fair Lady over a Stanley Kramer film and Dr. Strangelove? Yeah, that is fucking bullshit.
Actually, that year, it's funny. That's not. You're talking 1964, I think, because that was the year.
Or was it Mary Poppins?
It was both. It was Dr. Strangelove, Zorba the Greek, Mary Poppins. Oh fuck! I can't remember the last one. And then My Fair Lady and My Fair Lady won. I think it was the
Defiant Ones, which was a Stanley Kramer one.
I've got it right fucking here. Jesus, right in front of me, 1964.
And I did look at that year, but High Noon, one of my favorite westerns, and that's why I picked it.
Beckett. It was Beckett. Halby Walls, Zorba the Greek, Mary Poppins, Dr. Strangelove, Beckett, and My Fair Lady. And My Fair Lady. Like seriously, all of those. Mary Poppins is even.
Mary Poppins is a
perfect
better
film. Almost,
it's a better musical than My Fair Lady.
It totally
also
is.
have a deep hatred for Audrey Hepburn.
Okay. So basically, bottom line is you selected
bitch
this
faced
film.
me. That's why I hate Audrey Hepburn. Fuck Audrey Hepburn. Whenever a girl says, "Oh, I want to be like Audrey Hepburn," I'm like, "Oh, so you want to die of ass cancer?" Fuck Audrey Hepburn.
Ooh,
sorry.
yeah.
Are you Audrey Hepburn?
No, actually,
Thank you.
I don't like her.
So, well, I like her in Charade. I'm not too familiar with a lot of her films, but Charade's pretty badass.
She's how can I say? She's
tolerable.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, bottom line is you picked a film because to you this epitomized the theme, where Oscar totally fucking blew it by giving it to Greatest Show on Earth over High Noon.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that this was to kind of placate the House Un-American Committee and Senator McCarthy.
Right.
By giving it to Cecil B. DeMille.
Yeah,
it was more like here's for
buddies.
your legacy.
I guess DeMille was buddies with him. It's interesting, too, that you bring that up. We had, me and DJ Ozan had Garrett on Talking Trash one morning doing one of our movie shows, and one of our topics we were discussing was the most overrated film. And that was or some version of the most overrated, and that was actually Garrett's choice. He's like, because I actually haven't seen it, but he has, and if I recall correctly, he was talking about, it just isn't good. It's like it's long-winded, it's boring.
No,
it's not
good.
It's
not terrible.
It's not that it's got like some sort of like glaring flaws. It's just a boring film that goes nowhere and does nothing.
It's like
with very lavish production values.
Yeah, if you went to a country club, Dress How You Are, and there's a lot of snotty people talking about how their kids go to some boarding school,
right?
And you're just like waiting for them to serve at least water or something. That is the same kind of feeling I had watching The Greatest Show on Earth.
Right.
It was like, when is shit gonna start? Like,
I almost feel like I almost feel like I have to check it out now. Like I should watch.
You do.
It just
compare
to
that to High Noon, and you guess what? You blew it, Oscar.
Okay, so all right. Well, so then let's go around and talk about it. Zeb, I know you've already been talking about it a little bit, but let's talk about what if we liked High Noon and what we thought about it. Starting with you, Zeb.
Liked it. One great Western. The very first time I saw it, I was a kid, and I grew up on a steady diet of Roy Rogers, Hopalong Cassidy, Gunsmoke, Have Gun Will Travel, Bonanza, The Lone Ranger, Bat Masterson. So I grew up on a lot of Westerns as a kid because that's what they used to show on TV. And then I saw High Noon, I'm like, this is so fucking awesome. Because in those films, like, I'm going to save the day. Ho, ho, look at me. I'm strong. And this one, it was like my first time seeing like the character, the protagonist breaking down and crying. It's like, cowboys don't cry. What the hell's going on?
Because they do sort of follow a formula. I mean, there's a reason it's a genre. You know what I mean? And there are certain sort of tropes. It's like a giant robot anime or something. Westerns are
damn, now you're hitting up anime, man.
When people, it's like most people go to a Western expecting something. And at High Noon, I think all of a sudden the audiences at the time were getting a Western very much unlike any Western they had seen previously.
So I enjoyed it for that. Not only that, but the cinematography as well. Black and white. Great use of shadows, great use of light. Just the close-up of Gary Cooper's face.
Great use of a shallow depth of field. There was a lot of close-ups where the background, like just behind them, was foggy, but you got the face crystal clear, and it was a really effective technique. A lot of the shots I noticed in this film, it was almost like Kramer, cracked his knuckles and was like, "Watch this," you know what I mean? Like, because there's so many of the shots were so wonderful and beautiful and unique, and just not something you're used to.
And a great use of the actors as well. Gary Cooper, near the end of his career, staged a comeback with this film.
Yeah.
My only glaring thing about this was Grace Kelly's character. I thought they really should have fleshed out the Quaker portion of her character as well.
I kind of agree, because I think it would have made his initial resistance to sort of trying to complete this circuit of violence more understandable, maybe a little earlier on. You know what I mean? Because he's kind of doing it for her.
Yeah, he's tying up his gun, going to open up a general store with peace, love, and Quaker. I didn't think they really...
God damn it.
I didn't think they really showed that in this film.
Yeah, they
however, I did like how the interaction between Grace Kelly and Caddy Jurado in the hotel, talking about like, well, he's your man. Aren't you going to stand up for him? Snip, snap, you know?
Yeah, right.
I like that interaction between the two. And also just seeing all these great actors, Thomas Mitchell, Jack Elam, Sheb Woolley, the fucking Purple People Eater.
Yeah, Lee Van Cleef.
Lee Van Cleef. And I interviewed Sheb Woolley a long time ago on a radio station, asked him about this film, and he said, yeah, it was crazy.
Really?
It was such a short schedule. And Fred Zinnemann, who directed it, was like, this needs to be fucking perfect. And he was kind of a pain in the ass on the set. But the way he was being a pain in the ass was he wanted everybody to be angry that when it came time to shoot Gary Cooper asking for help, people would be very
dicks.
Yeah, they would be dicks to Gary Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah, because everybody was a dick to him,
and
except for his wife.
And I did try to ask him about the whole camera being run over and
by the train.
Yeah, the train in the scene where the train's coming into the station, the brakes failed.
Yeah, they didn't know.
And I heard about that a long time ago, and I asked Sheb Woolley about it, and he says, "Well, I wasn't there."
Of course.
And he's like, "Aren't you going to ask me about my tour?"
yeah. He's like, "What about the single I'm here to promote?"
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, you had one hit with the Purple
Too bad it couldn't have been one of those moments where he's like, "Oh, nobody ever asked me about that."
No,
Dude,
it
awesome.
wasn't.
No, let me tell you,
it was like he had like almost a bad experience filming High Noon with Fred Zinnemann. But you know what? It made for a great film.
Whatever, dude. Fine. If you had a bad experience, dude, we're all having a great one. So thanks. You know.
So I'm gonna give this film 4 out of 5.
All right, bitchin'. Kenzie, wild card.
Kenzie
wild card. Kenzie.
Yeah. Well, okay, it's funny that you say that it's a Western for people who don't like Westerns, because I actually did like it.
All right.
But I didn't like the main character at all.
Gary Cooper?
Yeah.
Oh,
Kane.
okay.
I didn't like him.
And why not?
Okay, at
Not
first,
bonable?
I thought he was really hot.
Is he in the Bone Zone? Was he in the Bone Zone
He was
ever?
at first.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. But yeah, especially at first. And then like he just became this like, he always looked so scared, and like that turned me off.
Well, he was scared though. He was shitting his pants.
But I don't want to see that. I want to see like a manly cowboy that like.
Okay, sure.
You wanted a John Wayne.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can get down with that.
I wasn't like, I didn't even like him enough to be happy that he won in the end. I kind of wanted him to die, and I was expecting it. And then I was let down when it didn't happen. But I did like the movie. I don't think that me not liking him was enough to like bring down my opinion of the movie.
Okay, good, because that was like some relentless shit right there.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Well, I hated the stupid look on his face.
No,
but
this is what we're about. I'm all for that. I was like, man, that boy got hurt.
And the more passionate, her response, the more passionate her response, one way or the other, the more effective the film has obviously been.
Yeah.
So that's a plus too.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue.
And then another thing, every single guy in that movie, for the most part, was just like gorgeous and like sweaty and like a little bit dirty.
even the innkeeper.
Who's the innkeeper?
The guy
You're
who-
talking about Miss Rodriguez.
Yeah,
She's up in room number 3.
Remember,
Have
she
yourself some
Okay, well, like
Oreos.
9 out of 10 guys.
They were all glistening with sweat.
Don't mind the cast, just that Mr. Todd over there.
It's gotta be
He's a
the
little
only
precocious
time
little character.
Jackie lives there have been called gorgeous.
It was like she was watching the 1950s Magic Mike.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What?
She
Well,
wanted
you know-
Harry Morgan's sweaty brow.
You know, actually, I'm not saying that I wanted to fuck Gary Cooper, but I did notice that because the age disparity between him and Grace Kelly in the film stuck out to me. I mean, that's the kind of thing you would have had happen back then. I didn't think it didn't take me out of the film. But what it did put in perspective is, though, even though like he was obviously way older, he aged pretty well. Like he looked pretty good for an old dude.
He did.
You know
He
what I
looked
mean?
really good.
So even I was not impervious to that
Yeah.
part of it.
And then I like the interaction between the two girls, like what you were saying. It felt very real to me, and pretty much all the relationship dynamics in that film were, I like them. It was good. I think girls are kind of turned off to the idea of Westerns. Maybe not all of them, but I am. And this was like a good Western for someone who doesn't like Westerns.
Well, I think that's because, like we were saying, there's so many like things that are sort of tropes of the genre that you kind of associate with it. That if you're not into that shit, will make you kind of like roll your eyes, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you have one that like flips the script on you. It's like, oh, like maybe Westerns aren't so bad. At least not that one. So what are you gonna rate it?
I wish halves were a thing, because 3.5, but I might give it 4. Probably 4.
Okay, all right, Condi.
Well, High Noon. What to say about High Noon that hasn't been said already?
Right.
I mean, I'm definitely going to reiterate a few things. Westerns in themselves, super formulaic. I mean,
Yeah, they
just
tend to be.
like most genres of movies, but Westerns more so than anything else.
Yeah.
That's why the ones that, maybe follow the script a little bit, but not totally, are really good and you really love.
And
like,
they tend to stick out because they just twist the
High
convention.
Noon, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Two Mules for Sister Sarah, movies like that. I mean, you think of
Wild Bunch at the time.
Yeah, Wild Bunch at the time, even now. I mean, a lot of the John Wayne ones, although they became like formulaic for him, but like the Cowboys, Rooster Cogburn.
Well, I
even
know
though that's not the real name for it. True Grit.
The Searchers too is
The Searchers.
widely considered to be like one of the best, if not the best, Western or the best John Wayne flick at least.
Yeah.
I think that one's ranked higher than Stagecoach even.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and Stagecoach, another excellent movie. But, I can see what Kenzie's saying about like you not liking the guy being scared shitless the entire time, but
Even though it's completely realistic.
yeah, and that's what I loved about it. The realism of like, I got 4 guys that want to stick a gun up my ass and pull the trigger until it goes click. Thank you, Big Lebowski. But I love that part of it, and he's fighting with his deputy. He's trying to get the townspeople to help him out, and they're just all like, dude, leave. It's like the guy.
You're gonna fuck us up.
Yeah, it's
Like not only do we not want to help you, but you're bringing trouble our way. Fuck you.
Especially the scene in the church.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
He's
Yeah, that
like
was
the guy at the
ruthless.
party that gets there, have a good time, gets a little too drunk, causes problems. Everybody's all like, "You should go," but he doesn't want to go.
Yeah. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and we dance with yo dates.
Yeah. The only place he's got to go is out in the fucking street where the bullets are waiting for him.
Yeah, and how everybody comes out there after he's done doing the business. He takes out everybody. Well, almost everybody. Since his peace-loving Quaker wife wants to murder someone in the back. That bitch.
Fucking bitch.
Shot him in the ass.
And then everybody wants
Little
to come
bastard
out and like,
shot me in the ass.
be happy for him. So like, I wanted Bridges to come out and just be like, I picked the wrong day to stop drinking.
Picked the wrong day to start being a fucking douchebag. God, he was a jerk in this movie.
Movie's a jerk, but it's another realistic thing. About
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, how many of us or people in general have been at that job, and you're like, I'm so qualified to be the supervisor, and you get nothing but passed up for it for someone from the outside.
You're making me sort of reflect on it and have this kind of epiphany. We were talking about how it is, and it's allegorical for sort of the blacklisting in the McCarthy era, like the whatever ratting out of the, you know what I mean, the blacklisting,
the Red Scare.
Yeah.
Red Scare. That's it. Thank you. So it's so funny because I just realized like an aspect to the allegory is that like everybody's a piece of shit in this town. Like, but these like you're used to Western, so you're used to like not seeing that. You believe all these people are like kind of on the up and up, and that like they're all operating on like the same level, and then when push comes to shove, they're actually pieces of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what you see, like all these townsfolk. You're not used to seeing the hero be like, reviled by everybody in the fucking town. But it's like, oh, it's almost like a in real life, like I don't know, like it was showing that in real life people are assholes, but you don't think they are from the outside, kind of.
Yeah, and well, you have this really cut down the middle town. You have all the church-going folk,
right,
who are all happy. He's the greatest marshal we've ever had, maybe the greatest marshal we'll ever have. And then you have the guy, the fucking porter or whatever he is. It's all like
the guy at the hotel.
The guy at the hotel.
It was so much better when he was in
yeah,
town.
it was busier when he wasn't here. He's got his comeuppance coming. Yeah. I'm not the only one that thinks this. There's a lot of people.
Like the people in the saloon.
You cut to the saloon, which, lo and behold, his ex-girlfriend owns.
Right.
And, is she really one of the people that wants to protect him, or is she really one of the people that wants him to get his comeuppance?
Right.
You never really know.
You don't know who you can trust.
Yeah. You can't trust anybody in that fucking town.
Yeah.
And it's great. And it's like really working at a job. And it's a huge, it's a kind of a weird reflection of it, but it's a huge reflection of it. It's like, hey, I'm one step away from being the supervisor, and the supervisor can recommend me to take his place, but he won't. Why won't you recommend me? If I got to tell you, well, you're not ready.
No
I
shit.
mean, it's like, fuck you, dude. Tell me I got to, maybe I should do this more. Maybe I should take the initiative more.
Well,
do
like
that.
maybe this is a chance for some instruction on some, you know what I mean?
And nobody wants to give Bo Bridges any instruction to the whole thing.
So it's like
you need to grow up. You need to grow up.
Right,
Yeah.
so even the good guy is a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, everybody's a piece of shit in this movie. I mean, at least to me. It's still, I love this movie, but everybody in the whole town is a piece of shit. The chick gets married, minutes later or even an hour later. It's all like, even though I've been with you, however long in the background this whole time, and now we finally get married. And, I know you weren't a church-going man, but traditionally marriages were in a church, but I'm a Quaker, so we're going to get married like this. And, that guy has to take shit for everything.
She's already trying to henpeck him. He's already henpecked.
She's all like, I want you to turn your back on everything that you've built with your own two hands.
Yeah.
That's like, going up to some guy, in the Alaskan bush. You built this, fucking house with your own two hands, light it on fire.
Yeah, burn it down.
It's all like, fuck you, bitch. This is mine.
my work.
I built this.
Yeah.
This is going to be my legacy,
did
whether I
this.
have children or not. And then, you got the townspeople. They're all pieces of shit, except, maybe the kids, because they're too young to be pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And,
the one kid kind of isn't.
Yeah, the
one,
14-year-old kid who wants to fight.
Yeah.
And Jack Elam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I mean, come on, Jack Elam. Dude, God bless you.
And
R.I.P.
Harry Morgan, piece of shit in the movie.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing movie. It's an amazing allegory of how life really is. And most films are not a reflection of how life really is. Most films are a reflection of how we want our lives to be.
Right.
But this movie is a reflection of how life really is. If I've been, had guns pointed at me all the time. Was I scared? Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fucking gun, man.
I would.
But you deal with it the best you can, which is what he did. He knows he's got 4 guns pointed right at his face. He's scared shitless. He's crying in his office. Does he want to cry? No. But, man, you need some sort of cathartic release to this whole thing.
Yeah.
And he deals with it the best he can. And he has to deal with it by himself.
Yep. Every man is an island.
Yeah.
So what are you going to rate it?
This is a solid 4. I'd give it a 4.5, but I would not give this movie a 5 ever. It's an amazing movie, but it is not like my type of perfect movie.
Not your type of 5.
Not my type
Not
of
a
5,
5
but
for you.
pretty damn close.
Right.
Because, like I said, it's a reflection of how life really is. The great direction, the great cinematography to it, and the great I got to kill that guy dead song.
Yeah. yeah. Right.
But
that was awesome.
But definitely a 4. If it were 0.5s or a thing, it would be a 4.5.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. I too also liked High Noon considerably. Of course, go figure. A couple things I did want, and I wrote some notes down here. Too many notes, actually. So I was surprised how much it reminded me of Blazing Saddles. In that it seemed like maybe, I don't know that when they were writing Blazing Saddles, they weren't using this film as like a template.
They probably were.
Because think about it. Sheriff Bart in Blazing Saddles is experiencing essentially the same thing.
Mongo's back in town.
Right, and they're coming to get him, and everybody in the town hates him. The only thing is Sheriff Bart is actually is likable, and it's not to make a bad pun. It's a little more black and white in Blazing Saddles. So even like the church scene, Howard Johnson is right. Like I was just kind of surprised how much they sort of seemed to.
Well, they use a lot of Western templates
in
for Blazing Saddles. Even Gabby Hayes,
Gabby Johnson.
Yeah.
One little thing I noticed that I loved about it was because the movie plays out in virtually real time, which is unique, especially for the time, I think. But anytime there was a clock in the scene, the music was always timed bang, bang, bang to the clock. Every fucking time. And it's like, I could see a lot of people watching the movie and not noticing that. I'm not saying like it's super, like you wouldn't even notice it, because if you're paying attention, you will. Mm-hmm. But it's not so like, it's not so like obvious that it's like slapping you in the face. But I thought it was just like a wonderful touch, because you've got this percussion, the beat happening in time to the clock. It's like the time is like pulsing, so that impending doom, you know what I mean? That feeling is always there when the characters are feeling it, which is also another thing that's great. Like the way the time is spent. Like I kept tripping the way the three guys are just waiting at the train station and nothing is happening. They're not doing anything. They're not going anywhere. They're just sitting there. But like the passing of every second on the other side of town where Gary Cooper is like, people are sweating both. Yeah. It's so interesting how like so little is going on, but so much is going on. And I thought the way it sort of played with that kind of time, that sense of time and timing, was really kind of fun. The film for me played a lot like a Twilight Zone, especially the way it was shot. Some of the close-ups, I swear, with the beads of sweat and like the looks on the face and the film stock, I swear to God, some of the shots were like right fucking out of the Twilight Zone.
They might have been.
Either somebody, I don't know if Fred Zinnemann directed any episodes of the Twilight Zone, or whoever was directing on Twilight Zone was like taking a page out of this book, because Twilight Zone,
cinematographer.
Because Twilight Zone hit the air about 7 years after this film came out, so. Having that feeling, it almost felt like a Twilight Zone kind of movie, and that like was really kind of engaging for me as well. Let's see. I thought it was interesting how sort of it was. Oh, the lighting was really striking in the film too. I thought it was interesting how sort of eerily kind of like it sort of mirrored today's times, in the way that it portrayed like the public having this really frosty relationship with law enforcement, which is also something you never get in films at the time, really. Like the cops are the bad guys. Like the cops are like always the good guys. You know what I mean? And that's an ideal that, like, you know, you're supposed to believe, you know, except for if you're watching a movie like Serpico or something like that. But it was interesting that, like, this whole film, like, the whole town, like, has this really shitty attitude towards the cops. I thought that was kind of funny considering, like, the press of today.
Well, and it's very reflective of today and every day as well, where it's, you know, the public is so fucking fickle about anything and everything. You know, right now it's race, the cops, you know, gay marriage, all that stuff. We all love it. You give it a week, if someone does something wrong, you know, some gay guys goes shoot somebody. I can't believe we gave those fuckers marriage.
Yeah,
you know, that's the way it's going to be.
Actually, these are things I'd like to discuss about the film as we talk about it. I've actually been really meaning to make the opinion segment shorter so we can spend more time discussing the actual meat of the film and sort of some of the issues brought up. So I'm gonna stop gushing about the film right now, and we'll talk about some of these things after. But one thing I did want to mention, I guess this is Bill Clinton's favorite film, and apparently he watched it 17 times, I think they said, during his 2 terms in office, which is interesting. But yeah, just great performances, great direction, great cinematography, lighting, everything. This film was a winner. I'm giving it 4 stars. Okay. So now, before we talk about some deeper issues, let's talk a little bit about All That Jazz.
A little bit about All That Jazz.
Or let's talk a lot about All That Jazz, actually, which I'm into.
All day about this fucking film.
Yeah. Okay. So, Condi, before we get into the pros and cons here, tell us why you selected All That Jazz.
Well, I'm going to pick up where you leave off on things. All That Jazz was nominated in 1979.
Yes.
With Apocalypse Now, Breaking Away, Normal Ray, and the eventual winner, Kramer versus Kramer. Now, yeah, those are all very strong movies, and they made a lot of strong movies in the 70s and 60s. But out of the ones nominated, and having seen Apocalypse Now multiple times, All That Jazz clearly should have won that.
Has anyone here seen Kramer versus Kramer?
Yeah, it's a big hunking piece of shit.
Is it really?
It is.
Is it? Is it? Okay, because
it plays off like a TV movie for me.
Yeah,
like if you were watching a 1980s
miniseries,
like Shogun or something
like
that.
No, Shogun was way better than Kramer versus
but
Kramer.
like around that, yeah, kind of like a 2-part miniseries on the CBS Sunday Movie.
Okay, because.
No, well,
yeah,
I'll digress.
Yeah, so we'll get into that.
No, Kramer versus Kramer was horrible. Just a horrible movie. All That Jazz, you know. I mean, you saw it. What can I say? But I wanted to, you know, like Zeb epitomize, like, you know, hey,
the theme, the Oscar
theme,
really blowing it.
That Oscar really blew it. So I looked through a lot of the stuff, you know, and I wanted to go with, you know, movies I was at least familiar with,
right?
Maybe not have seen. Like I said, it's been a couple of decades since I've seen this movie,
right?
But you know, I looked at like Stagecoach, I looked at Guns of Navarone, you know, and I didn't want to, you know, go something easy like hit Dr. Strangelove or Jaws or something like that.
You know, this theme is almost like shooting fish in a barrel in a way. There's like so many amazing choices that didn't win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the hardest part is like picking one.
Yeah, and my normal picks, if you go through any of the podcasts or, you know, see any of the stuff, or they're normally Asian films, or, you know.
Yeah. You tend to have like you tend to kind of have like not like a specific type of film, but like there's a sort of group. There's a sort of a Venn diagram of shit that you tend to, and this is definitely sort of, I think, outside of what we would consider your comfort zone.
Well, it's just like that scene in Hudson Hawk. I may not know art, but I know what I like.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know art, but I know what I hate, and I don't hate this.
So, and I wanted to go outside of that bubble in a big way too. So, you know, what else could you do but a musical?
Yeah, that's true, and a very sort of
dramatic
unique musical as well. It doesn't play like a lot of musicals do, and it totally is one, but in a really, you know, in a way that no other film kind of does it.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, those are my many, many reasons for picking this film. There are a lot of fine films to choose from, but out of the years and, everything, all that jazz, it should have won. I mean, I would have even accepted Apocalypse Now should have won over Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah.
But this is one of those huge, many of the huge travesties that the Academy does. That's why I think the Academy is such a piece of shit and should be disbanded.
It's like their job to get it wrong. So it was funny because like people still talk. Obviously, Criterion just put out a brand new Blu-ray of All That Jazz a couple of months ago. That's really sweet. And I mean, Apocalypse Now, they're still talking about today. Ain't nobody talking about Kramer versus Kramer.
No one talks about Kramer versus
nobody
until now.
It's like the song that beat Yesterday by the Beatles for the Grammy. Like,
what song beat Yesterday by the?
Who fucking knows or cares?
Well,
but because like Yesterday should have won, you idiots. Because obviously the other fucking song didn't stand the test of time the way Yesterday did.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, it's something you'll be like, "Are you kidding?" I think it's like 19. No, it can't be 62 because the Beatles didn't come over here till like 64, I think. But it might be 64. But anyways, okay, so yes,
continue.
So those are my reasons for choosing this particular film.
For picking it. All right. Zeb.
Yes.
Your turn to tell us about All That Jazz. Or unless you want to tell us about the Grammys first.
No, fuck the Grammys. Fuck award shows. I'll tell you why, because Connie brings up a great point, and you guys bring up a great point. We're talking about All That Jazz, and everybody's still talking about Apocalypse Now. No one's talking about Kramer versus Kramer. This is kind of the thing about, like, why Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, all these awards are such bullshit, because the only proven way to find out if a film is good or not, or the best picture from that year,
it's how it holds up.
It's time. I mean, years later, we're here talking about High Noon. Bill Clinton's been screening High Noon. He's not screening The Greatest Show on Earth.
Yeah.
No, as I said, no one's fucking going, hey, it's Sunday, let's watch My Fair Lady. Yeah. No, they're going, hey, it's Sunday, let's watch Dr. Strangelove. We're even dissecting Dr. Strangelove to this day with all the wars that are going on.
It's arguably more relevant today than ever before.
And the same thing with All That Jazz is I fucking love this film.
Yeah.
And it's a great travesty that, one, it did not win Best Picture. This should have won Best Picture that year. And Roy Scheider should have won Best Actor.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you why. Because this is a very, kind of like High Noon is a very anti-Western. This is a very anti-Roy Scheider role.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's, of course he's womanizing stuff, but he's singing and dancing and he's just giving it his all. As opposed to like you see him in Jaws or The French Connection or Sorcerer or any of those films where he's kind of acting in the same type of role. He's a good guy going, get out of the water or get out of the subway or get out of here.
Right.
In this one, he's more animated. He's more of a womanizer, a boozer, a schmoozer.
Yeah.
And he's just like that last number. My God. What a number.
He's my hero.
Just to add this as a footnote, Roy Scheider lost the Academy Award for Best Actor to Dustin Hoffman for Kramer versus Kramer. Although Dustin Hoffman's great. He's done so much amazing
He also beat out Peter Sellers, I believe.
Let's see.
For being there.
Well, and that's part of the thing with the Academy too. These fuckers get it wrong so much. Like, what's her name that won this last year for was it Best Actress for the movie
Julianne Moore?
Julianne Moore. Now she should have won a while ago
for Boogie Nights.
Yeah,
Boogie Nights.
Oh God, yeah, man. This was they gave her we blew it Oscar basically this year.
Now I'm not saying Dustin Hoffman's not a talented actor, but he should not have won for
Dude,
Kramer
Roy
versus
Scheider,
Kramer.
man. Roy this is your thing. I won't start talking about Roy Scheider.
As I said, this is where the Academy got it wrong. We're still talking about All That Jazz. In film school, guess what film I watched with Mr. Professor Bob Shepard? All That Jazz. This was after he showed all those gay films in the beginning. It was like, hey, kids, want to see some tits? Let's watch All That Jazz. We never saw Kramer versus Kramer in any of the film classes I ever took.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if we dragged Garrett or Candace Rose in here, we would say, did they ever show you Kramer versus Kramer in film school? They'd be like, fuck no. We saw All About That Jazz or Apocalypse Now or Being There or whatever, not even the other films that were nominated. And to kind of like get back to the film, The reason why I love this film is, one, I'm very ambivalent towards musicals. There are some musicals I like,
Right.
and there are some musicals I hate, like My Fair Fucking Lady.
Yeah, it's really easy to get
Really,
it wrong.
Rex Harrison over Peter Sellers and Dr. Strangelove. You fucking blew it, Oscar.
I know, like 3
Jesus
roles.
Christ,
Dude,
what the
would
hell
you-
is wrong with you?
Would you quit bashing my Sundays? Do you know how much I watch My Fair Lady?
Angie, do you watch My Fair Ladies on a Sunday? But it's a great musical because I consider it the anti-musical. In musicals,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, Kenzie, Ed, let us go to the picnic. We're going to a picnic. Da, 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 da. This one's like, oh, I'm in the hospital fucking dying. Let's
Yeah.
have a fucking musical number.
Yeah.
And it's an original musical number, not where everybody's just singing. It just transports him into this weird surrealist environment, and it's beautiful. And not
Yeah.
only that, but it's also kind of an biographical film where
Yeah.
it's kind of like
It's
okay,
a weird meta thing, actually,
yeah,
how
it's
sort
like,
of
okay, so he's
autobiographical
editing
it
Lenny,
was.
and
Right.
also staging like a chorus line or cabaret,
And he
or
has a
something
heart
like that.
attack.
And he has a heart attack, which he did during the filming of Lenny. And I think it was Chicago or something that he was also doing at the same time.
Right.
And it's great because it's kind of like, if you look at it, it's a biography, an autobiography, a film autobiography by Bob Fosse, the first of its kind.
Right.
But he's not using, his real name. It's like, oh, fuck my life.
Oh, don't.
Fuck
Oh,
this
that's
chair.
okay. It's tied on with shoelaces.
Oh, is that what was dangling?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit. Oh, there it is. Shoelaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, something shiny.
Nothing. Nothing but the best in this heist.
So I really love this film. I could gush about it all night.
Go ahead, I won't mind.
Absolutely love it.
Well, instead of not quite so empty praise, we should discuss some of the meatier things about it. So go ahead, tell us what you're going to rank it.
I'm gonna rank it 5 out of 5.
All
'Cause
right,
it is one
yeah.
of those films where I'm like, guys, let's just fucking watch it again. Right
Yeah,
now.
no,
And that's what I reserve my 5s for.
Yeah.
Masterpieces that you can watch immediately after the movie is finished. 5 out of 5.
Just to backpack on that really quick. I kept thinking to myself during the film how, like, holy shit, like, just this film is only gonna be better on repeat viewings because it's so much to take in. It's so overwhelming on so many levels, and it's doing so much. It's just like a piece of art. It just gets better the more because you just understand it that much more.
Zeb's definitely getting an over the pants handy. Thank you.
All right, Kenzie, tell us about all that jazz.
I'm so curious about this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because I was against the double feature.
You were yeah. Let's throw that out there.
Yes.
Since we decided to do a double feature, Kenzie got outvoted 3-1.
Yes.
I don't know.
She was the Justice Scalia of our Supreme Court here.
Yeah, and the one musical I know she's seen is Cannibal the Musical, which, although funny in parts, was just a fucking beating for me to sit
What
through.
musicals have we had? We had Cannibal the Musical and we had Standing Ovation. Have we had anything
I
else?
was not here for Standing Ovation.
I don't think I was here for Cannibal the Musical.
Oh, you
wasn't
weren't?
here.
Oh, I thought
I
you were
don't
here.
think so.
And I don't know if you really want to consider Pitch Perfect a musical.
Yes.
Okay, then yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so this is our fourth this is our fourth musical
Force of
then.
habit.
Yeah.
I think, unless I'm forgetting something.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am. Please.
We are fucking riveted.
I am actually very riveted.
Dying
The
to
edge of
find
my
out.
seat, literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Can
Trying
I
to
change
tie it
it up
back
and give
together.
you like my stars first?
Yeah,
however you want to do this. This
It's
is
your review.
this
Okay,
is
I'm
yo
giving
house.
this movie 5 stars without.
Hey now.
Oh,
all right.
I honestly was
I need
not
the
expecting
applause.
that
Kenzie out
whatsoever.
of left field.
I think I just heard
Not
myself getting
really,
hard.
though.
Oh,
It's
is that what
about
the
it.
bunk on the table was?
This movie is right up my alley. Like the guy was great, and then
Move that mic a little closer to you. There you go.
I didn't even know it was the same guy from Jaws until I looked it up afterwards.
Oh, right.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Well, because
Yeah.
he's so different.
Yeah.
He was so different, and then he was sexy. The whole movie was sexy. I love
Is
his
he in the Bone Zone?
costumes. Yeah, he was.
All right.
Definitely.
Dude, I would fuck Roy Scheider from this movie.
So would I.
I know. Right? God, that's one of the things that stuck out to me.
At least I know the
is-
sex would be good.
is like how much charisma can can overtake like wrongdoing.
Dude,
I
that
don't
guy
know.
had. I mean,
I wanted that
no,
dude's
wait.
life.
I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
going to
okay,
take from
yeah,
Ken's
yeah,
ass.
sorry,
Like,
sorry.
go ahead.
Back to
Sorry,
you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I actually was kind of like enjoying what you guys were saying.
Well, we're gonna come back.
We'll
to that.
come
We're gonna
back to that, don't you worry.
Let's hurry up.
One of the
And,
questions is, would you bang Roy Schneider?
let's hurry up and
All
when
right,
we get
Kenzie,
through this.
continue.
Yeah,
We'll kick in
I
overtime.
thought it was great, and I thought I don't know how it feels to die. In case anyone was wondering, I've never died.
I'm sure we all are.
But
You haven't died?
no, I haven't died. So I think, but the way they portrayed his like hallucinations in the style of a musical was just so genius.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. There was seriously the only thing that I found flawed about this movie was the ending, because I really didn't want him to die. And then when it ends with them just like zipping up the thing, I was just like, are you serious?
That's how we all go?
That
well,
was heartbreaking.
it was, but I thought that was instead of having some, sappy like maudlin like
he
some
survives
sort
and
of,
turns his life around.
or even having some
Yeah.
sort of death scene where he has some kind of soppy like heartfelt goodbye to everybody, or some kind of like something like that. Like it would have been overdoing. Like no, it's like it's that stark contrast from just like what happens from this vibrant thing to like gone, and you don't get any transition, just
That's
like
how
in
death
real
is,
life.
unless you're
Just
like
yeah,
dying of cancer. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah, sure, but
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The other thing I really liked was the three girls, his ex-wife and then the new girlfriend and the daughter.
yes, they were totally good.
I thought they were great together, and even like the little girl was just like, she was amazing.
Yeah.
And all the dancing was so fun. It makes me want to go like do all that if I could be that graceful and like flowy. But yeah, hands down 5 stars.
All right,
Awesome.
bitchin'. Okay, Condi, you picked it. We obviously know you're into it, but just give us a quick rundown on it.
Okay, so yeah, this movie, I could like Zeb, I could go on forever about this fucking movie. Yes, because of the time frame, the surroundings and everything is a little dated, but the way the lifestyle and everything is, if you don't think these people are like that, you're fucking kidding yourself. His morning routine, it's showtime.
Yeah.
That's fucking love that. That's like how I imagine you in the mornings, Ed.
Well, it's like it's a mantra. It's like he has his process. He's getting ready, and it's like that's part of it. It's like an affirmation or a mantra or something. And it's like bang, time, I'm on.
This and this movie, being mostly autobiographical, also really weird since Fosse died in '87 of a heart attack.
Well, and he went over budget and over schedule.
Well, he
and
went
took
over
longer
budget.
to edit it, just like it did on. I was reading. Like,
yeah,
it was
but he
crazy.
went over budget because of the last song, the last number.
Good for him.
Which I think was needed in this.
Oh,
Oh,
dude,
This is
absolutely.
what really put the movie over.
No,
for me.
like seriously, like you there's sort of that stereotype of like the sort of director with a swelled head, like you want him to bring it in under budget and on schedule, but like sometimes like this was whatever it was, like this was worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and another reason I love this film too is it comes from such a different era of acting.
Yep.
Like when you think of our great actors nowadays, they call them the triple threats or whatever, things like that. Oh, he's a great actor. He can sing, he can act, he can dance. But in the 60s, 70s, and even a little bit before that, but definitely starting in the decade of the 80s, maybe 82 or from then on. Nobody could do shit.
But thanks to Star Wars, it's because of the blockbuster era. Star
Yeah.
Wars creating the blockbuster.
And movies like this,
Straight up.
I mean, every one of the actors and actresses, besides like the old dudes, could sing, they could dance, and they fucking sure acted their asses off the entire time.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found striking about the movie is like how his wife or ex-wife and his girlfriend didn't really do. I mean, besides Annie for the one girl, they didn't really do anything after this. Leland Palmer, this was her last movie.
Yeah, and the girl, what's her name?
His daughter, Michelle, that played his daughter.
It's something.
This was her only thing that she did.
No, she did one other thing. It said I looked her up.
Oh, really?
That
Yeah.
surprises me.
Yeah, she
Well,
was
maybe they all
great.
moved back
She
to
was
the
good.
theater.
Her name is.
Yeah, then that may be true too.
Erzabet Foldy, but there's all kinds of umlauts and tildes and shit. And like, in there, so I'm sure I'm getting that wrong. Apologies to you. But yeah.
And Roy in this picture, Jesus
fucking
Christ.
What accolade do you use? Tour de force, master class. I mean, you know what I mean?
Dude,
like
him in this movie is so, it's so not him. That's what makes it amazing. That's like seeing nowadays a fucking Robin Williams movie where he's not being a fucking idiot. It's so great. He
really had chops too. When he got his
like
hands on a
photo.
good role. 1 hour photo,
Yeah.
The Fisher King, World According to Garp,
Insomnia.
yeah, I mean, he just when he fucking had good shit to work with, he nailed it.
And the
man.
same thing with Roy. It's like, yeah, he had great movies. He had Jaws. He had
Sequest DSV.
Sequest, and he had great things, but there will always be things like this that just set him apart from the pack and just said, kiss my ass because you guys will never fucking catch me.
Yeah.
And like his character in this was so fucking charismatic and so goddamn awesome and would just beat you down in a second and you'd love him for it.
Yeah.
You would say thank you. Like
Yeah.
when he told that chick, you're not going to be a good dancer. You're not going to be a great dancer. But if you don't quit, I'll make you a better dancer.
Right.
Jesus Christ, that fucking kind of honesty, I love it.
Well,
And-
yeah, that was his approach. It's like no wonder everybody loves him.
Yeah. Like when she comes and she sleeps with him, like, do you think I can be an actress? No. No, I don't. Not even if I got a Joe stop? No. Want to go to bed? Yep. It's fucking awesome. That
Sure
guy
do.
could talk me into letting him pop me in the pail, man. I'm telling you. It's fucking great.
All right, so what are you going to give it? The star
5. Yeah, I'd give
Excellent.
it fucking 20 stars if I could.
Excellent.
It's this is, like I said before, one of the biggest examples I could ever come up with was fuck you, Academy. Could you get it any more wrong?
Right. Agreed. Okay. All right. So my turn. I'm going to try to make this brief for the sake of talking about more cool stuff. Firstly, as nobody's mentioned it, just okay. The three girls that play. I mean, his wife and his girlfriend, his daughter are amazing. But Jessica Lange also in her
I
sort
meant
of
to say that.
diminished
I
role
can't believe I
is also
forgot her
really
'cause I love
good
her.
and just strikingly beautiful as well.
Angelique.
I'd like to mention, as well as Anne Reinking, both they both are incredibly beautiful in this film, and Alf's dad, Max Wright, is wonderful as well with a Dixon Ticonderoga #2 in his suit pocket. Yeah, this movie, I'd only seen it once before, like I said, and I didn't even intend to watch it when I did, but it was like it came on TCM or something, and I just got so swept up into it, it was like we just ended up watching it. It's like High Noon. It's almost like it sort of like deconstructs the genre. What an interesting pair, actually, looking at it in that perspective now. What an interesting pair of films, because they both are such sort of twists on their convention. They both totally like take the tropes of the genre. It's like all the toys in the sandbox they're sitting in. They totally do different shit with them that they didn't think you were supposed to do with them. You know what I mean? They came up with a new fucking toy somehow, like doing it. It's kind of weird how they both were like that. I mean, what other than bringing Jessica Lange into the fold, what more can be said about this film in terms of the quality? It's stunning. And it's so amazing too that a film that really is kind of so sad is also so sort of uplifting and happy at the same time. A film that really sort of has this somber, very, very, sort of, mortal message. It really is so sort of fun. The music is great. The dancing is amazing. The whole film, it is super sexy. You know what I mean? Obviously Roy Scheider just fucking is incredible. this film, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give it 5 stars too because it is just incredible, ballsy, daring filmmaking. It sort of exists kind of within this box, but then it just like sort of punches all the fucking holes in it that it needs to, and just becomes an amazing experience that is so sort of multi-layered. Like you've got to watch it more than once, I think. Also, John Lithgow turning up, and it was also really cool. I totally forgot about that. That was fucking super awesome. So I'm gonna have to invoke the overtime rule here because the timer's about to go off on this. But there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about with a couple of these films. First of all, something I wanted to bring up and just get everybody's opinion on it. With all that jazz, did it strike? And I didn't read anything in the wiki or the IMDb pages about this film. I haven't read any reviews of it yet, and I don't have the Criterion Blu-ray, so I can't read the awesome book that I'm sure it comes with, or listen to commentary. So I haven't had this thought corroborated by anybody. But did it strike anybody else as a like decidedly anti-smoking film? Like as a like. Oh shit! There it is. All right.
The pizza rolls are ready.
Yeah, my Totino's the pizza boys here. All right, let me start the overtime now. Okay. Overtime. So yes, was anybody struck by just how ubiquitous cigarettes were and how sort of to me it totally seemed like the whole time the message is trying to be communicated in the background. Cigarettes are bad. And I don't know. I mean, just the placement, the way they're like everybody's got them, the way they seem because he's not on blow. Like he's got pills he's popping and he's doing the Alka-Seltzer and all that shit. But he's not like a total like. There's no blow. There's no like cocaine. There's no like heroin. There's like stressing his heart out. Other than like the amount of work he's doing in the fucking cigarettes.
I was like, "What do you mean? There's nothing stressing his heart
and
out?"
like, I mean, like, there's no narcotic stress on his heart, like the pharmaceutical maybe, and cigarettes, and then even like in the hospital, when he fucking escapes and that orderly finds him, it's like, and there's cigarettes, and it's like that sort of precedes his, dying. And the coughing and heck, I don't. Did anybody else? I'll shut up. But did that strike anybody else as serious as it struck me?
Does anybody want to go first? I definitely got something for this. No, not to me, because I'm gonna go Al Bundy here for a second.
Please.
I did tons of acting through high school. I did just about every play from my freshman to my senior year, right. And that was just the thing. You keep yourself awake from doing all that stuff. We did tons of smoking, but he had, and there's a lot of stress to do that shit. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Not to mention for him, he's getting like, at the time, like, just upper echelon amounts of money. And, for me, it was like, being in school, maintaining grades and to be able to do this.
Sure.
So, you got all that stress on you. And his way more so because he was going from that to something else, from that to something else, from that to something else. Not to mention to throw in there, the tons of drinking he was doing too.
Right.
They showed him with the champagne bottles and everything. And, it was everything. They were just trying to show like his hedonistic lifestyle that he just didn't, hey, dude, I'm glad you don't give a fuck about anybody, including yourself.
Right.
Bye-bye your life, goodbye.
Right.
And that's, it didn't, it was really funny, that part where, he's getting the checkup from the doctor who's smoking. He's
that is the funniest scene in the film. That is so hilarious. But to me, that totally, like, why would you have that guy do that?
Because,
like, unless you're trying to, like, hammer home the point that, like, don't smoke.
Because they're more hammering home the point that nobody cares. Nobody cares about you. They care about your ability to get this play done. They don't care. Okay. They don't. This guy doesn't actually care if you're okay. He might, and from this small scene with Wallace Shawn, the accountants, they might actually care if you die because if he dies, they would have made a $500,000 profit if he dies from a show that won't go to Broadway.
Right. Yeah, so, it's like a total producer's scenario.
Yeah, and that's what hit home to me on that is like this is how much this industry and these people do not give a shit about you because they're going to get a doctor who is like even closer to death than you are, at least on the surface, to come and give you your physical, and just give a placate, like, because when he's in the doctors and they're all like, you had a heart attack, and they're like, I just got checked out, man. And that's what it is to me about the whole thing.
Anybody else got
That's
anything
exactly
on that?
what I was going to say. The lifestyle. Like, the cigarettes to me were just, like, to emphasize his lifestyle. Like, why wouldn't he always be smoking? And then, also, stress is, like, really horrible for your body.
Sure.
So, to me, like, the medical issues came from the stress and then the pills with the smoking. Because, you can't, you're not supposed to smoke cigarettes and be on, like, prescription.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cumulative thing. But, yeah, okay.
To me, it was more, lifestyle and stress, not like anti-cigarettes.
Okay,
really.
Zeb,
I never viewed it as an
Really?
anti-cigarette film.
The point here is that you're insane.
Because it's actually a valid point to bring up. Because then he was a heavy smoker. Didn't he die of like a heart attack?
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely see how Ed sees it that way.
Yeah, and and he did have a heart attack when he was doing, I think it was either Cabaret or Chicago, along with Lenny,
Right.
the film, and it was just showing that, to me, when I saw it the first time, I thought, oh, he's in the hospital because of stress.
Right.
And if anyone's ever been in that situation where you have multiple things going on, you turn to a cigarette. As a coping mechanism.
Sure. So it's the only time you have a chance to stop and take a deep fucking breath.
Yeah, and several years ago I was a 3-pack-a-day smoker.
Right.
And that was because I was doing political stuff and radio stuff at the same time, and the only way I could cope with it was having a cigarette.
You got it. It also gives you a chance to kind of like just go out and like not have to deal with anything.
Yeah.
Because you're not smoking inside anymore. You got to go out and like you got to take a break to smoke.
Not on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah, I know. Or overseas,
God bless
too.
tobacco country.
In Europe or Japan, fucking everybody
man.
smokes. Yeah. Everybody smokes.
Every time I land in Russia, it's like...
That, yeah.
Indoors, huh?
Yeah, when in Rome. When in Rome.
Actually, when I cleaned out my office, I found like a whole bunch of Russian cigarettes.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm like, what am I going to do with these?
All right, so, okay, that's interesting. So I guess
that's a valid point. I can see how you can see it. Like,
it's funny because like during the Seven Samurai, like I've made this argument that the one kid who I remember all their names, but I think his name's Katsushiro. He likes the one dude. Fuck it. It's going to take me forever.
It's a good try, though.
Yeah, anyways.
Good job.
Okay, so let's see. Something else I wanted to talk about with High Noon was, let's see, the sort of, okay, I kind of saw it as an examination of kind of the male ego, too. Sort of to touch on what you had said, Kenzie, about you not wanting to see him scared. Like, does anybody think that maybe there was like an intentional examination? And perhaps this is just me being influenced too much by the internet and the headlines of today. But is it possible that this film, written by Carl Foreman, who was blacklisted, is it possible that he is deliberately calling gender roles into question by giving this guy a reason to legitimately be scared for his life and for the life of his wife, and to have an opportunity to sort of run away, but to also, no matter how sort of scared he is, to sort of face the fear and deal with it, rather than deal with the problem head on rather than running away from it, but having a hard time dealing with it and coping and being scared and shitting his pants and desperate. Does anybody think that possibly that was an intentional sort of like dig at traditional kind of gender roles, or at least an attempt to examine what it's like to be a man, I guess, kind of in America?
When was that movie made?
1952.
Would anyone have cared about that back then?
Well, in a way, yes.
Yeah.
Because this is when World War II was over.
Right.
And when many of the men and boys were fighting overseas, the jobs that they left were taken over by women.
Right.
That's how we get Rosie the Riveter and,
right.
all that imagery. when they came back from World War II, they're like, all right, honey, cook me dinner. And
Right.
the wife's like, nope, I'm off to work.
Yeah.
So this was during a time where gender roles were beginning to shift
Right.
because many were coming back. They've seen the horrors of war. A lot of people deal with PTSD, which wasn't really mentioned of World War II. If you looked at
It
World
was
War
shell
II,
shock back then.
yeah, it was like the boys are marching against the Hitler. These boys are fighting for freedoms overseas. Take that, Tojo. You know, they were like building up these GI supermensch, like, oh, America's fighting force and the men and boys that fight for them. But there was really nothing talking about the damage that were done to World War II soldiers coming back. We had a World War II soldier on staff at 84 years old. He keeps telling me that he wakes up in the middle of the night screaming because of all of his friends that died overseas.
I'm sure of it.
And he tells me this every single fucking lunch meeting.
My grandfather on my mom's side was he defused bombs for the Brits in World War II, and he wouldn't ever talk about like the war to anybody. And it's funny because now in retrospect, I actually feel like he sort of robbed posterity. Like nobody could ever tell his stories, and even though they might have been painful, like those experiences are so historically significant. Like it would be so valuable for me to have like heard like his stories.
Yeah, like if we look now, it's like, you know, they've got protection, they've got all these fancy machinery.
Yeah,
but back then there was nothing.
Nope.
And with this film, getting back to your question, in a way it is by deconstructing the male protagonist cowboy.
Right.
And kind of like, all right, America's society has changed. We're talking about moving to the suburbs, starting a family, getting over the horrors of World War II, the Red Scares. Just
getting into the Cold War, fearing nuclear annihilation.
And now we're moving into the Korean War as well.
Right.
And it's a bunch of guys like, yeah, I could go there and, you know, I want to kick some ass, but I'm a little bit afraid of doing it because of what happened last time.
Right.
And there were people that were World War II vets that went directly into the Korean War with that mindset. So I totally agree that this was part, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I think it was a great way to look at the gender roles.
Right.
And kind of break them down that, yeah, guys do have feelings. And when we do
Right.
move into crazy shit, we do have moments of self-doubt where we just don't know what the fuck to do.
Right.
And we're so fucking overwhelmed.
Yeah, and like kind of like even if we feel bound by honor to like do certain things, it's like sometimes, you know, like we're human.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's kind of one of you guys kind of.
Well, yeah, they're being human in this movie, but I don't know about gender roles. I mean, to me, this more reinforces gender roles a little bit more, like guys will be guys and girls will be girls kind of thing.
I can see that. Well, because even though there is some self-doubt, he toughs it out. He nuts up and does what he has to fucking do.
Not even does what he has to do. This movie is a completely ego-driven movie. Every character is their own ego. Kane comes back because of his ego, because I can't let these guys beat me. I can't let them get the better of me.
Right? Like
I've never run in my life.
Cool that you got away.
Yeah,
like
he would have gotten away. I mean, I feel that, you know, the guys might have searched for him for a little bit, but then they had a whole town that would have been theirs.
Right.
You know, and then you got Lloyd Bridges. His ego got the better of him because he won't be the marshal, and the marshal won't recommend me to be the marshal. His ego got him.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like the four guys that are trying to kill Kane, their ego got the best of him. They put me away. This guy put me away. Fuck this guy.
Fuck
I'm not going to let this guy.
Pride, totally.
You know,
That's just pride fucking with you.
Yeah, and, you know, the ego takes over the town. Their pride, like, dude, you should have left. Look what you did for me. The judge, he leaves because, well, his ego doesn't get the better of him. He's like the only one because he takes the fuck off. He's the only smart one. But, like, you know, the entirety of everybody, you know, is, you know, their ego or their pride getting the best of them.
Sure. No, definitely. I can see that. Yeah.
And with the chicks, it's like, you know, one of them's, you know, the chick that she, quote unquote, really doesn't have a man, you know, Mexican chick, so she could take off all she wants to. And the other one's all like, I'm going to fight with my man, but, oh, wait, you know, when push comes to shove, I'm going to have my man's back, you know.
Right.
I'm going to, you know.
Right. Okay. Well, that's yeah. But that, I mean, just that further goes to reinforce what a great film it is, that it's like that it's working on those kind of levels too. Going back to all that jazz, what does anybody think that is there a message about morality in this film? Because I know the whole for the entire films, you know, because we're going back and forth between seeing what's really happening and his conversations with Angelique, where he's being completely candid about his thoughts and his feelings and his experiences. And obviously, he doesn't live a conventional lifestyle. There's obviously all kinds of infidelity. There's a broken marriage, that kind of stuff. There's obviously some kind of substance abuse going on. Does anybody feel like this film is making a comment in any way on the morality or the immorality, of his deeds beyond what he's dealing with himself? Like, are we supposed to leave because he's working through his demons obviously himself and feeling like at the end like he's been a douchebag, like he's apologizing for these bad things that he's done? But are we, the audience, supposed to walk away reconsidering our moral index?
I don't think we're supposed to. I think people do and people will. He's just like any other person who thinks they're invincible. Since Angelique is death, that he has conversation. He does what he wants. He has embraced his demons and taking them along for the ride with him. And he's so cool. I get to have my candid conversations with death all the time, because you see, every morning he's still grabbing his wrist, all the time. And at the end, when he sees what his demons will really do to him, is when he's trying to bargain, I want to live,
right?
And it's just it's the parts that speak to you about life and death and the whole thing. It's the movie's very loud. It's very vibrant. It's very lively.
Sure.
It's very sexual. The whole thing, but the parts where he's so close to death, or Angelique or whatever, or the parts with no sound, right before he has that heart attack, you hear him pounding the cigarette. You hear him grabbing the railing. That's all you hear. You don't hear the laughter in the background or anything like that. Then you have this huge musical number at the end where he's struggling. He knows he's gonna die. I'm going out with a bang in my head to everything, and then boom, it cuts to the end, and all you hear is the zipper. And that's it's about people being able to embrace their demons. It's about a life and death kind of thing. But I don't think that no matter how many times I see this movie, I don't go into this movie and take away from it that I need to watch my ass kind of thing.
You don't come out of it going well, cheating is bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's things I know that are bad, wrong, good, indifferent, whatever, but I don't come out of this movie that it challenging me. Obviously I know if I smoke like a fucking chimney like he does, filter the cigarettes all the time, taking pills, drinking whatever he's drinking, I'm gonna fucking die. I'm gonna lessen my lifespan. But I see there has been and always will people that embrace it the way he does, and for as long as he does, and then realizes, oh shit, I'm going to die. I got to try and do something. Oh, wait, it's too late.
Right.
It's always going to be that way.
Right. Okay. Anybody else, Zeb or Kenzie, you want to weigh in on that? No.
Oh, I think we're out of time.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we are out of time. That beeping.
But I agree with what you said. I didn't
Ditto.
take out any.
There you go.
I need to start.
I mean, maybe the only moral message is that you have to figure out what your own morals are, and find a way to be comfortable with them. Because when push comes to shove and the Reapers are knocking, and you're about to get that kiss from Angelique,
I don't know if she looks that hot, man.
Yeah, I know, dude. I hope that's what's up, dude. I ain't gonna kiss death, dude. I'm gonna bang the shit out of death.
Jessica Lange back then, not Jessica Lange now.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Two quick things I want to mention before we get out of here. Number one, we should have mentioned that Ben Vereen kicks fucking ass in this film.
Oh, fucking! That's what I was about to say.
His character is really kind of this interesting character, sort of that exists in the periphery, and the whole final performance.
That
amazing.
was a great payoff.
Not much of a humanitarian.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm kidding. And the other thing is, I guess the only beef. It's not really a beef. I'm just kidding. But it was quite a contrast hearing Roy Scheider singing alongside Ben Vereen singing. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, where you got the
Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton.
Yeah, you got the sweet sounds of Dolly Parton against the I don't know how to describe sounds of Burt Reynolds. Kind of an interesting pair, but it was pretty awesome.
Dude, it was Ebony and Ivory. Come on now.
It sure truly was. And also too, the Mexican girl, of course, wears black, and the white girl wears white, and the Mexican girl wears black in.
Skinny little white girl.
And High Noon. Even though the Mexican girl is basically a good girl, she's still in black because she's Mexican, and that's wrong.
She was thick and juicy.
Right, Hollywood. All right, so that's going to do it for this edition of Las Películas Sábados Gigantes at the Cinema Marijuana Theater. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Next week, we'll have a special holiday edition. I already know the movie that we're screening next week, but I'm not going to say it. But we will be discussing it next week after we watch it for the holiday special, and we're going to have some grub. Kenzie acquired a George Foreman grill that's going to make a really awesome, not barbecue. So let's introduce ourselves one last time, starting going to my left. I'm Ed.
I'm Zeb.
I'm Kenzie.
I'm Condi.
And we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening.